41. We have a lineup of speakers today to share their valuable insights on promoting a conducive investment climate. To set the context for the session, we will begin a keynote from Dr. Masroor Riaz. He is the chairman and the CEO of Policy Exchange of Bangladesh, a private sector advocacy firm focusing on applied economy, policy, and investment advisory for economic growth and creation of markets. Dr. Riaz is an economist specializing on private sector economy and the former senior economic and program manager at the World Bank Group. He is a key stakeholder in various public and private forums on policy consultation. Dr. Riaz, thank you for sharing the landscape of your presentation. I would like to request you to present your presentation, and thank you for taking time to prepare the keynote paper. I would now request Mr. Masroor Riaz to come and join for the keynote paper. We are very happy that we have with us our Honorable Principal Secretary, Lokman Hussain Mia, and Senior Secretary, Ministry of Commerce, Mr. Tapon Kanti Ghosh, and Saiful Islam, President, Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Samsokim, the Trade Representative of Director General, Dhaka Kotra Trade Center, a Trade Investment Promotion Agency. And we have also a representative from JETRO. Now, it's time for listening the presentation. Before inviting the panel, I would like to request Mr. Masroor Riaz, please present your keynote paper. Over to Ms. Dr. Masroor Riaz.
Thank you, Mr. Nurul Kabir. Today's session's chief guest, Honorable Principal Secretary, Mr. Tofazzal Hasan Mia, Senior Secretary, Ministry of Commerce, Mr. Tapon Kanti Ghosh, Executive Chairman, BIDA, Mr. Lokman Hussain Bhuiya, our lead host today, President of FICCI, Mr. Nasir Izaz Bijoy, today's moderator, Rupali Appa, Ms. Rupali Chaudhary, FICCI's board, FICCI members, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, Assalamu alaikum. What a wonderful privilege it is to be back to this really great FICCI initiative, 60-year celebration, as well as promoting the investment potential through an investment expo for Bangladesh. Who better to do this than the true ambassadors, true investment ambassadors of the country, that is the foreign investors, the tested, the trusted foreign investors who have been working in this country for many, many years and have seen the potential, the strength of this economy, of this market firsthand. So I congratulate FICCI, FICCI's board and FICCI members for taking this very timely and a very wonderful initiative. And I must say the Puthi part yesterday was something that stands completely out of anything people have ever seen. You know, what a wonderful way to bring tradition to the modern day discussion on investments and foreign investments. So thank you very much. So today's session, as you see on the slide, investment climate landscape and the mission 2041, which also goes formally as the Vision 2041 of Bangladesh's principle, the primary long-term development strategy that Bangladesh is guided by. Now, in order to understand the investment climate, I think one really has to understand the investment climate in the context of where Bangladesh wants to be in the next years, in the coming years, coming decades, on the basis of the strength or the experience, development and economic experience and the strengths Bangladesh garnered through its 52 years of journey. And hence, what we need to sort of get into first is understanding Bangladesh's impressive development run that Bangladesh secured in 50 years. It is a very impressive development journey. Many developing countries, low-income countries, envy this development run by the country. Over these 52 years, GDP, Bangladesh's GDP, it grew by almost 51 times over these 52 years. If you look at our per capita income, almost 20 times over these 52 years. The agriculture, and I love to give this example because very few countries in the world have been able to do this. Since 1972, Bangladesh, due to industrialization, urbanization, business activities, have been losing 1% of arable land every year. So in 52 years, we have lost almost half of our arable land. But we are feeding almost on a self-sufficiency basis, from a 70 million population to a 180 million population. Yet, we are largely self-sufficient, perhaps except for a few commodities and so on. So this agricultural output, if you look at the agricultural overall yield, it increased almost 6 times. And during this time, the 30 years average economic growth for Bangladesh has been 5% consistent. And if you take the last 15 years, it is well above 6%. Higher than what the world calls the latest miracle of the East Asia, Vietnam. If you take 2016 to 2021 average, 5 years, Bangladesh was higher than Vietnam, which was somewhere around 5%, or little above 5%, and the lower middle income country group. So of course, we have a great celebration coming soon. Officially we go out of LDC group to developing country group, but we already have an achievement to celebrate. There is another measure of assessing a country's economic strength, which is the middle income country group, and that's by the World Bank. And in 2016, Bangladesh already made it from low income countries to lower middle income group. And we are on track to become an upper middle income, hopefully within the early part of the next decade. And if you look at the lower middle income country average growth in that 5 years, 2016 to 2021, it's only a little above 3% when we have been managing well above 6%. So these development achievements, the solid economic strength that position Bangladesh really well for dreaming big. Dreaming big, but the dreams which are well founded into the strengths, that's what I said, the development experience and the achievements. The Vision 2041 sees Bangladesh as a high income country. For that to happen, our per capita income will have to go up to $12,000. We'll have to grow the economy, the impressive growth rate of average 6% or more than 6% in 15 years, 5% over 30 years. We'll have to almost double, close to 10%. And over the next 19 years or 18 years, the country or the economy will have to create a good amount of 40 million, an astounding 40 million formal jobs, quality jobs. Now that's, many would call that lofty ambition. But as I said, those lofty ambitions, the abilities are well grounded in the experience and the achievements. But it would require Bangladesh to leverage the trade, investment, and connectivity as the main enabler of to deliver such lofty development aspiration. In order to deliver these 40 million jobs, 9%, above 9% growth, $12,000 per capita income, our investments, private investment, which is and will be the driver of growth, will have to reach to almost 37% from current 23, 24%. Exports, where Bangladesh has done really well, particularly on the RMG, emerging as the second largest RMG exporters in the world, will have to exceed $300 billion from the current sort of 46 to $52 billion. And foreign investment will have to go up by 6 times from an average of last 5 years, 0.5% of GDP to 3%. And connectivity, which basically facilitates, which enables the global growth, sort of the global market and the domestic market's growth, again, significant improvements required over there. If you take the multimodal transport, except for the global sea-based freight, the rail, road, the inland water, the billion kilometer ton, I think is the unit. Bangladesh will have to increase it by 700% by 2041. And if you look at the freight transport, the sea-based export and import facilitation, Bangladesh will have to increase that 13 times or 1,300%. Now, all of these, and together with that, if you look at that bottom left-hand side graph, I think it's very clear that while the domestic market is going to grow, Bangladesh will have to increasingly take advantage of the very large global market, which worked really well for countries which were on similar path as Bangladesh few decades ago. For Korea, we have Shamsu Kim today, we'll hear from him, but recently for Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia. But if you there, Bangladesh, the global value chain participation, Bangladesh trails behind its competitors, which are also its competitors. You know, whether it's Thailand or India, Indonesia, or Vietnam. So all of these say, you know, in order to sort of make this leapfrog in terms of FDI, investment, private investment, exports, connectivity, what is going to be really important is investment competitiveness of the country. Bangladesh also has opportunities which are emerging in the very sort of recent world economy and politics. The geopolitics is increasingly creating opportunity for supply chain expansion beyond the concentration areas. So in sort of open words, beyond China. I don't call it, leaving China. I don't think the world will ever be able to leave China completely, not in the near future, nor do they want to, because there are many commercial benefits of engaging in China. However, there is every possibility for realization of what we have been hearing for many years, China plus X, China plus 1, China plus 2. So beyond China, if you look at Bangladesh's RMG competitiveness, our wage is still 71% lower than China and almost 25% lower than Vietnam. Our productivity needs to catch up with those countries. We are lower, but even if you adjust for the productivity differential, this wage differential or advantage gives Bangladesh a really strong position. But all of these, as I said, is going to require Bangladesh to ramp up its competitiveness. So we have to gradually expand from labor cost based advantage, competitive advantage, to build on that and gradually sort of go to competitiveness based advantage. And competitiveness has many elements, but 3 really big elements. You know, productive people, which brings into the scene the skills and technology, competitive farms, where again technology adoption at the farm level, access to finance, but very importantly, world-class investment climate the topic of today's plenary session. So you see the link that it has, the investment climate, with Bangladesh's own economic priorities and development aspiration. Now, those development aspiration and for the investment climate, what strength Bangladesh's economy offers? Does Bangladesh sort of possess any strength that it starts from or starts with and can consolidate on? It does. First and foremost, those of us who were here yesterday, you heard the Honorable Prime Minister referring to Bangladesh becoming the 9th largest consumer market by 2030. Now, that is a very powerful motivation. We know that would create market for market-seeking investment into the country, but it is also going to increase expansion of domestic private sector, catering to that large, more consumption-oriented economy. We know about the BCG's projection, 35 or 34 million middle and affluent class by 2025. That's going to be larger than the population, total population of many East Asian or even European countries. But I want to add one more sort of spice to that. So when we looked at the recent, some of the additional analysis, including what the recent household income expenditure sort of publications from the government is indicating, right below the MAC population, there is another group which is going to be equally important to make the market attractive. It's called the aspirant group, $150 to $250. The middle is above $250, maybe up to $500. This is 44 million at the moment, the aspirant group. This is going to be 90 million by 2026. So, I see many luminaries from the corporate world, multinationals in the country. You know that based on your demographic analysis from the market analysis, how big a potential that offers as a strength of Bangladesh's market. And then we sort of also keep hearing about the demographic dividend. What does it mean? I say that it means strength of Bangladesh, it indicates strength of Bangladesh's economy and market for both market-seeking investment, but also for efficiency-seeking investment, where a local or foreign business comes to the economy, take advantage of an efficient factor of production here, the competitive labor, and then makes products for the country and the global value chain. Now that is a whopping 68 million people in the working sort of age group, and the median age of this workforce is only 28 years. So on one hand, you have a large working, large group of population, 68% working means earning money, and at the same time, the income, the purchasing power increasing. So what could have been a more attractive market than this for investors from home and abroad? And finally, we know that the next decades are going to be the decade of digital economy, of course, green economy as well. And Bangladesh, building on the Digital Bangladesh initiative and the program, has laid the foundation well for digital readiness, whether that's mobile penetration or internet accessibility, or the growth in the digital financial markets, or in terms of the aspiration now Smart Bangladesh brings together, which create the motivating and real opportunities for the investors in Bangladesh. Now, the real question now is the investment climate ready? Does the investment climate, A, commensurate with the economic performance? B, is the investment climate ready, or does it support the development aspirations? Now let's have a deeper look into that. We talk about private sector-led growth story, which is the reality in Bangladesh. Private sector has been the engine of growth, including foreign investment, which led to sort of growth of very important enablers such as infrastructure, power and energy, and many others. And all of these were possible because the public policy from the government over the years did, while there could have been more or better, but the public policy came up with really important supportive measures which helped the private sector to grow. I mean, the confidence, for example, that the law bars expropriation nationalization. The law allows 100% foreign equity without any differentiation, except for few areas, and we will see all those. We have double taxation treaties with 28 countries, and Bangladesh is signatory to many international conventions which guide investor confidence and investments, such as UNCITRAL, ICSID, the OPEC, and the WTO and WIPO principles. At the same time, for domestic and foreign investors, I think the number one sort of conducive policy towards that led to private sector-led economic growth in Bangladesh has been this position, regardless of the political aisle, which side you belong to, is that private investment is good. It is considered good for economy, for prosperity, for the nation, and as a result, all but 4 sectors have always been open for both foreign and local investment. The 4 are really unusual sectors: nuclear, energy, forestry, security printing, where they print money, and arms and ammunition. Apart from that, name any sector, it's open for local and private foreign investors. However, when you go deeper into the analysis and you bring comparative scenario, because we live in a globalized world, foreign investment certainly, but local investment as well. When you look at the global comparison, where in terms of where we belong, where we stand, it matters to both foreign and local investors. For foreign, they have choices, they have options. For domestic, what it means is that they're perhaps not getting as conducive, as cost-effective, as efficient investment climate support as it could have been, right? So if we start with the Global Competitiveness Index of the World Economic Forum, that positions Bangladesh into 105th position out of 141 countries. And you can see our comparator countries are all ahead. Now, where do we sort of struggle? I think where we struggle is a number of areas. Efficiency of institutions which sort of put together the regulatory framework and provide the regulatory service delivery for investments. Infrastructure, where we have seen significant improvement in road connectivity infrastructure, including bridges and tunnels. However, there are other elements, and also power, but also we have many other areas which are yet to catch up with our need and with the global sort of position. Skills, innovation capability, product market depth, and business dynamism. These are some of the areas in the Global Competitiveness Index which show that Bangladesh has major headrooms to improve, particularly in comparison to our comparator countries. Bangladesh has some paradoxes as well, and I'll present 2 today. The first one, if we look at some more very robust global assessment, it shows that Bangladesh is really open in terms of investment. It's really open, and I have given you one example. All but 4 sectors are open for foreign and local investment. If you look at the bottom sort of graph, OECD, who are considered as the sort of the authority on multinational enterprises and global investment flow, you will see that Bangladesh, that blue sort of bar in the middle, it's more than 100 countries. So OECD team really has done a wonder in fitting all of them. The blue bar is Bangladesh. You see, in terms of regulatory restrictiveness, Bangladesh is below OECD countries, which is understandable. OECD is all high income, very developed, majority of those. But Bangladesh, Bangladesh is above the OECD countries in terms of restrictiveness. That's understandable. Bangladesh is way below non-OECD countries. Means our regulatory restrictiveness is much lower than our peer economies, which are the non-OECD countries. But if you go into the efficiency, then Economic Freedom Index by Heritage Foundation, widely sort of accepted around the world, it shows that we are below average. If you look at the middle graph, which has, I think, business freedom, labor freedom, and few other, monetary freedom, we are gradually doing better. However, we are still below average. So that indicates on efficiency side, particularly on regulatory service delivery. The moderator gave me 30 minutes, so I think 10 more minutes according to that. Sorry, thank you. I was getting some signals, yeah. So Bangladesh can do a lot better in terms of improving the regulatory service delivery and its efficiency and so on. Now defunct World Bank Doing Business, which was last published in October 2019, was the most widely used business environment sort of index or analysis. Before it stopped, Bangladesh stood at 168 out of 189 countries. It was again getting better. From 176, it came to 168. However, its 168 was still in the bottom 10% of that. And some areas, particularly insolvency or contract enforcement, trade, and property rights, they were really lagging behind where we need to be. Now, we have Endosan, who I call probably the biggest ambassador of Bangladesh investment from JETRO, who's been sort of pushing Bangladesh's sort of attractiveness among the Japanese investors. We turn Japan as perhaps they've always been our greatest economic bilateral partner, but now they're also perhaps the greatest investment and trade interest country and a G7 country we have. And Endosan has a big role. And I borrowed something from his presentation that he made in MCCI two months ago. So JETRO runs an Asia-wide survey on Japanese companies. And this is the result of last year, which was published a couple of months ago. So if you see the paradox I mentioned, on one hand, it is showing great things about Bangladesh. Like, you know, Bangladesh is one of the top 5 countries, according to the Japanese investors, in terms of market potential. The left-hand top graph, you see. Bangladesh is also the number 2 countries, according to the Japanese investors, in terms of where they plan to go or hope to go to set up their investment and trade businesses. But when you look at what those same Japanese investors say, who put Bangladesh as the number 2 in entire Asia in terms of where they want to be, they put Bangladesh in the 4th position from the bottom in terms of business environment quality. The left-hand side bottom graph, you see Bangladesh is just above Myanmar, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. So that tells you that we have so much strength, so much of potential, but business environment, investment climate, which is both of an art and science, which has been receiving government attention, but needs to have probably 10 times more attention at a 20 times faster speed and perhaps 100 times being more targeted. And some of the issues the Japanese feel are going to be important to address, such as for investment climate improvement, includes customs clearance, foreign exchange, sort of management, local supply chain, and so on. Bangladesh's own index, homegrown index, first ever business environment index, Bangladesh Business Climate Index, BBX, which was launched by Policy Exchange, and I'm glad to have Saiful Bhai with us, MCCI President, Metropolitan Chamber and Policy Exchange launched it in 2021. We have launched 2 versions. We are working on the 3rd 2023 version. And that also tells, while it is improving, the headroom for improvement or the imperative for the improvement is much more critical. I mean, if you look at the categorization of the business environment, Bangladesh stands at the second category from the top out of 4, but right at the cusp of third and the second category. It has scored just merely above 61, and if it was below 60, it would have gone to sort of the second category, the orange category, which would indicate serious bottlenecks. But Bangladesh has just made it into the category which says it is improving, but a lot more needs to be done. And there are issues such as access to finance, long-term finance particularly, taxation, and trade facilitation, which have been indicated as clear improvement areas in business climate. There are the investment policy framework, which basically brings together all the investment-related regulations, laws, and so on. Many of them, it is in need of modernization, but also simplification. 150 sort of regulatory approvals. BIDA is working on that, on one-stop shop. One step forward, but we need to sort of start, instead of a marathon, perhaps a 100-meter relay sort of sprint race, because we need to get there. The issues of predictability, the issues of documentation reduction and time reduction, very important. Foreign investors are given usually a red carpet in this country, no doubt about that. But there are some pain points in terms of their treatment. For example, while they can invest in any sectors outside those 4 I mentioned, there are equity restrictions as to how much they can come in. For example, logistics, 49%, telecom, 70%, fisheries, 49%. Now, why I say fisheries? Blue economy is going to be big in the coming decade. And fisheries is a big part of the blue economy. And blue economy involves complicated, technology-oriented, sea-based economic activity. We do need the foreign expertise, technology, and investment for that, and many others. Then a number of legal and institutional frameworks, such as Arbitration Act, the Bankruptcy or Insolvency Framework, the Companies Act, the mother law. We have the Principal Secretary here, so I'd like to take the advantage of his presence that we have a company law which is the mother law of all private sector activity. It says 1994, some amendments have happened. But if you look at the company law, sir, it is actually mainly still 1994, and our Honorable Commerce Secretary has just acknowledged and addressed this issue 2 days ago in Dhaka Chamber. And we know that under his leadership, Ministry of Commerce is trying to modernize this, but perhaps this will require a big political support and support of the Prime Minister's office to bring a completely modern new Companies Act. Mere amendments will not work any further because our need is much more, much deeper and so on. So trade, similar story. If you look at our trade position, export and import competitiveness, our positions, our sort of cost, time and other positions are disadvantaged in comparison to our comparator countries, many of whom are our direct competitors. Same goes into logistics. If you look at the logistics performance index, Bangladesh is 88th. Now that's a good news because it was 100 2 years ago. So 88 is a good news. However, it's not as much good news as we need. Again, if you look at our competitors, they're way above, in terms of a sort of better position, they're way above us. And infrastructure, logistics infrastructure particularly, have come up as a big improvement area. Many issues, again, starting from national logistics policy to what sort of products are allowed or how many products are allowed to be handled in ICDs, or how do you improve the port operation as well as the hinterland connectivity between port and the markets and industrial hubs, I think are important part of this issue. Taxation, now yesterday, FICCI did a wonderful job, which is for the first time, we've been hearing so much about tax being a really pain point for investors, particularly foreign investors. For the first time, FICCI took the initiative to document this, to establish evidence and put granular recommendation as to how you improve direct taxation and indirect taxation such as customs and so on. And Bangladesh's tax regulations have clear gaps when you sort of compare them with international taxation principles in terms of neutrality, fairness, predictability, and so on. Digital economy, as I said, Digital Bangladesh played a big role. Bangladesh is more ready for digital economy than ever before. However, again, digital economy is going to be highly globally competitive. When we place ourselves against the global sort of community, we see that improvement rooms are huge. The Global Innovation Index, if you see, it puts Bangladesh into the sort of 102nd position among 132. And there are clear needs for improving technology adoption, knowledge, the human capital for digital economy, and infrastructure and institution. Many issues in the digital economy investment climate. For example, the whole orientation towards product-based export sort of is a problem. This ICT, our digital economy, a big part is going to be the global market. Look at India. The BPO alone gets them close to $150 billion. But while I have seen in the last few years, and the Honorable Commerce Secretary has a big role in that Bangladesh is trying to gradually increase digital export, but I think we need a sort of long-term strategy in terms of how we sort of make a transformational shift from merchandise based export only to also services exports, where digital economy is going to be important. The intellectual property rights, that is seeing some improvement. We have seen, I think, the Patent Act, new Patent Act a few months ago. However, it's only a part of a big sort of ecosystem on intellectual property rights. We need the other elements of IPR, the design, the sort of trademark, and more importantly, the enforcement to come into play in a very strong manner. Well, many challenges. However, there are good news. The government has been active too. Government in the past year, just in the last 1 year, I have seen significant improvement initiatives coming up. So for example, on BIDA's side, with the support of the Prime Minister's office, BIDA has now taken up what is called Bangladesh Investment Climate Improvement Program, BICIP, which is a homegrown investment climate, continuous investment climate improvement program. It's not for 1 year, it's not for 2 years. Of course, 100 reforms are targeted in the first 3 years. However, it is meant to be there every year and on a continued basis. Of course, we know about the special economic zones. The PPP agenda is getting more attention, and so are infrastructure and so on. And if you look at the infrastructure side, more than $40 billion of infrastructure already completed in the recent months or in the process of completion. Each of them are going to be important enabler of investment in this country, starting from Matarbari cluster to all the way to the Padma Bridge, the third terminal, and the LNG terminal, which is already operating. Again, I want to take advantage of our Honorable Principal Secretary's presence, because I have seen firsthand this particular issue, the logistics. This has been nobody's business for 51 years, because logistics, while it has been the biggest export competitiveness barrier, also a big barrier for domestic business cost and efficiency. As a result of more than 20 plus ministries and 28 agencies working on different parts of logistics, and the absence of a nodal agency, it did not get the right attention until last year, when a working group was formed under the chair of current Principal Secretary, when he was the Secretary PMO, which then led to formation of the national institution national platform called NLDCC, National Logistics Coordination and Improvement, National Logistics Development and Coordination Committee, headed by the Honorable Principal Secretary, which includes all the important ministries and private sector and experts. And I have been privileged to be working together, supporting this NLDCC, and I have to say, I have not seen any other initiative doing as much progress in just 7 months. This was formed in February. In 9 months, as it has done. It is a national logistics policy that Prime Minister referred to yesterday. The draft is almost ready. A 52-point regulatory reform action plan under the leadership of Ministry of Commerce's anchored policy and regulatory subcommittee of this NLDCC is now ready for Prime Minister's office to roll out. And I was on a call even this morning with the Prime Minister's office, how to roll out and how quickly to roll out this 52-point reform program. Even if 22 of those 52 are implemented, you will see a sea change in the logistics sector, without which it will be difficult for us to attain the export and the economic competitiveness that we need for Vision 2041. I'm out of time. I'll just go through the strategic way forward very quickly. So there are many recommendations. If I need to go by the law or the regulation, we'll need one full day. So let me focus on the strategic enabler. First and foremost, what worked till now is not going to work to get us to 2041. We need stronger, much deeper reform as well as actions. So we have to move from a business as usual approach to using strategic enablers to facilitate investment. For example, the global supply chain shift that is happening as a result of geopolitics and many others, how does Bangladesh take advantage of that? Can we be positioned to take away the part of even RMG business that comes out of China, $193 billion export, China's. Even if we get $10 billion out of that, that is a 20% increase for us, our total export. Using FDI investment and export as integrated strategy. Vietnam is the perfect example that when you use trade and investment as a complement to each other to increase both, you make leapfrogs. That's an example. More regional cooperation, again, under the leadership of the Honorable Senior Secretary Commerce, we know Bangladesh is now discussing with almost 10 countries or identified 10 countries for trade agreements. Japan is at the forefront. We know the negotiation or study, the joint study group are taking things forward. But the last 1.5 years has also shown us that some bold macroeconomic reforms are also important. We are going to need improvement in banking governance because financial sector can slow us down and slow the journey towards our achievement. The foreign exchange management, how we manage our exchange rate, our reserve position, and how we manage our inflation vis-a-vis our interest rate. They all have an impact on how confident the investors feel about Bangladesh economy. The world is going to move towards green economy. And as you know, from Europe to North America to East Asia, country and regional regulations are changing. So H&M, which is the largest buyer of Bangladeshi products, largest importer, is not going to be able to buy any product after 2030 if the manufacturer doesn't use at a minimum 25% energy from renewable, 30%, perhaps I'm off by few percent on the number, and doesn't use 25% of the material as recycled materials. Even if you give it to them at 90% discount, they're not going to be able to take it. German Supply Chain Act, approved last year, says that unless ESG truly is implemented, ESG that Vicky discussed yesterday, German importers, the largest importer in European Union for us, cannot import our products regardless of how competitive price it is. So it is important that Bangladesh adopts principles like responsible business conduct, puts together the necessary institutional and legal framework to encourage responsible business conduct, circularity, ESG, but also renewable energy is going to be important, and there are reforms required there in terms of approval process and guidelines for developers. So with that, let me finish on a aspirational note. The confidence and the market strength, they are absolutely real. As you see, again, the JETRO survey shows the profitability forecast, the business confidence forecast of Japanese investors in Bangladesh are continuously improving. And the fear of loss is also decreasing. And at a time when international institutions like UBS, McKinsey, PwC, they project really important progress by Bangladesh, All of these and the Vision 2041 aspirations can turn into reality if we can take the timely and bold reforms to turn Bangladesh's investment climate the one that is required for a high-income country. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you very much, Dr. Masroor Riaz, for your comprehensive and very insightful presentation. I believe it will help our panel to get a lot of insights and they will discuss elaborately. Now I request Rupali Chaudhary, the Managing Director of Berger Paints Bangladesh Limited, to join me on the stage. Rupali Appa, will you be the moderator for today's panel? As many of you know, the Rupali Appa is the former president of FICCI and present advisor to the board. And she is one of the top women leader, business leader in the country. I would now request Rupali Appa to join as a moderator of this event. I also to request our speakers or panel member to join with Ms. Rupali Chaudhary on the stage. So I invite Samso Kim, the Trade Representative, Director General of Dhaka Kotra Trade Center, Korea Trade Investment Promotion Agency. Would you please join the stage? And Mr. Saiful Islam, President of Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Saiful Bhai, I request you to join the panel. Seats are allocated. You can see your seat. The next speaker is Yuzi Ando San, the country representative of JETRO. And Mr. Masroor Riaz has given a lot of research reference from the JETRO. Ando can elaborate that. And the keynote speaker who have presented, Dr. Masroor Riaz, Chairman and Founder of Policy Exchange. Please join with the moderator. Now I'd like to request Senior Secretary Mr. Tapon Kanti Ghosh, Ministry of Commerce, to join the panel. And today's chief guest, Mr. Tofazzal Hossain Mia, the Principal Secretary to the Honorable Prime Minister, who has kindly graced us as today's chief guest. So I would now request our moderator of this important session, Ms. Rupali Haq Chaudhary, to start the event and make the discussion is a very vibrant and effective. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A very good afternoon. We are very honored because our chief guest, Mr. Muhammad Tofazzal Hossain Mia, Principal Secretary, Prime Minister Office, he is actually gracing the occasion as chief guest because the shortest way of reaching the Prime Minister is him. So you can imagine that, whatever we were going to discuss today, it is going to get that kind of attention from him and that kind of connectivity to the Prime Minister. So with that note, actually, I thank all our panelists. I think I have to introduce our panelist from my side is actually, you forgive me if I don't pronounce your name right, Yuji Ando San. So he's actually country representative, Jetro Dhaka. Then besides him, we have a very dynamic bureaucrat and very, very dynamic bureaucrat from Commerce Ministry, Senior Secretary, Minister of Commerce. And we have with us, and then our chief guest is there. And then besides the chief guest, we have Saiful Islam. This time I'm not going to make the mistake. Last time I made mistake. So it's Saiful Islam this time, and he is the president of Metropolitan Chamber, and he's an entrepreneur himself, and also serving Metropolitan Chamber for the longest period of time. And then also we have, and also he said that you can call me Samsu. So his name is Samsu Kim, and he is the trade representative, Director General Dhaka Foreign Korea Trade Center, Korea Trade Investment Promotion Agency. So it's a very, very interesting panel. I think my job is half done. I can quickly finish everything because Masroor Riaz has actually presented such a beautiful presentation, starting from the opportunity, problems, and actually he said that three drivers, key critical drivers are there: trade, investment, and connectivity. And also he showed what are the problems actually we have and current scenario. And I like this, this name called, the title shape is actually the current landscape and mission 2041. Actually, we are the practicing, the practicing companies based in Bangladesh. We exactly know pain points, and we exactly know the, our future prospect also. And future prospect actually, and done by a neutral body, is also gives us very confidence to invest in Bangladesh. And that's a very encouraging thing. But current landscape, I think, is very important that we actually speak out frank and free. On this, basically, we have to really find out how to actually take actions to promote and attract FDI, private sector, and also local investment. Investment is investment, whether it is foreign or local. So we have been actually promoting this slogan from FICCI for a longest period of time. But I must start with the storytelling, because when 10 years or 12 years back, when I became actually FICCI president, so one of the incidents we went to see the then finance minister, Mr. Abul Mal Mohit. So he was very excited. He said that, basically, I am very happy today. I said, what was the occasion? Because our FDI has improved 150%. So we are also, and we saw that in the newspaper. So I said, sir, should you be very happy and proud? Because it is actually 1.5 billion. It's peanuts. So and I could not really, how do I say that? That's my habit. I could not really control myself. I said peanuts, because compared to the comparing countries, it was that, 1.5 billion. And the next day, and he was such a how do I say, open and big-hearted person, he actually laughed it out. He said, you are right. I said that basically all the competing countries, Vietnam, they are attracting 15 billion, even Myanmar also, and we are in the 1.5 billion. At that time, there was a notion, there was actually people, I think local investors also afraid of FDI. So we really had started that dialogue that FDI is not going to take us down. FDI is going to take us up. Let us take the example of, China. China has become the manufacturing hub of the world. So why not Bangladesh can become? So today we are actually discussing, and with such a big panel, that everybody believes that it is not only flow of capital, it is actually flow of technology and ensuring creating employment in the country, where actually every year 2.2 million people are entering the job market. And if we really go through the, we have heard Masroor, he has shown such enormous figure that, unbelievable to believe that in 2041 we have to achieve that kind of employment. So we have big opportunity, and we also have all the challenges and the struggles. So further, without any introduction, let me actually go through the questionnaire that we are supposed to do. On the FDI, actually, I have to give you one. If we take the last 5 years data, it is now hovering around 3.4, 3.6 billion. But reduction, because we can understand there was a COVID and that post-COVID scenario, so there is a negative growth of 0.94%. We can say that it is negative by 1%. So we are actually hovering around that figure. Now, my first question to Mr. Saiful Islam, President, Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Established in 1904, MCCI is the oldest business chamber of Bangladesh. How have you seen the investment climate change improve in Bangladesh last decade?
Thank you, moderator. That's a very good question that you have asked. How we have seen over the period of last few years the investment. So I have taken the data from the central bank that what was the investment. I will not go year-on-year basis, but if we talk, if you think about the FDI stock, which was 19.39 in 2020, and in 2021, it was 21.158. So compared to 2020 and 22, there is a growth of FDI of 9.1%. I'm talking about the stock. At the same time, when we talk about the gross FDI, net FDI, I can see a growth of over 2020 to 2022, it was 35.7%. So there was a significant growth during the post-COVID time. At the same time, I must say that our economic size is close to, the GDP size is close to $500 billion. So we had been expecting at least 1% of our GDP, but in reality, the FDI was 0.7%, whereas in FDI to other countries is much higher than that. But you know that in the recent days, especially when we see the global value chain, and when you look into the global, that means the geopolitics, there is a change. That means that all the Western worlds and the developed countries, they used to say that they do not want to keep all the eggs in one basket. But as a result, after the disruption of the supply chain during the pandemic, we have seen that, yes, it is being changed. As a result, after the pandemic, post-pandemic, we have seen that there was a significant growth of FDI. That was a good sign. So if we look the geographical position of Bangladesh, naturally we are bridging between the South Asia and Southeast Asia. So I will ask the audience that what is our population? We say that our population is 170 million people. But in the what I see, the relationship between Bangladesh and our big neighboring country, India, we are having the best relationship nowadays. Considering this, I see that the population, if we consider the seven sisters, the northeastern state, including if we take the West Bengal, that means that the population of the Seven Sisters are about 50 million. Then if you go into West Bengal, then we are talking about another 110 million people. The connectivity between the two countries, we have the transit, we have the protocol route where we have the inland waterways transit and we have the coastal region transit also. So, and we have SAFTA, South Asian Free Trade Agreement. So altogether, we are talking about a population of 340 million people. Out of 340 million people, if we take 20% of having the capacity, buying capacity or middle income, we are talking about 70 million people. So I can see that there is a big opportunities for the foreign investment here in Bangladesh if we consider the geographical position of Bangladesh for the domestic product and to the neighboring countries where we have the market access. At the same time, although we are graduating into a developing country in 2026, but we have an extension up to 2029, which the government is also trying to extend up to 2032. That means that we have the market access. After the market access, then we have the possibilities of GSP plus one. So taking into consideration of the regional market, including Bangladesh, and also the export market, I can see a potential of foreign direct investment here in Bangladesh. That I can say.
Thank you. But the only thing is you have to remember that currently our actually the trade relations between India and Bangladesh is actually, India is exporting 10 billion, we are actually exporting 1 billion. So it is 10:1. So
the figure is not correct. No, we are exporting 2 billion.
Okay.
Yeah, 2.5, and they are importing more than that. The balance of trade is almost 14 billion. The figure is not correct which you have given.
Whatever it is on the lopsided, you know. So India has to, we have to make an arrangement that, you know, the reverse flow also happens, and we have actually investment. It's not only for domestic consumption, but we are able to actually export to India. Otherwise, you know, it is going to, we will be, because of the economic size, I mean, the economic size of India, so, you know, there is a possibility that is reverse flow can happen. So it's a debate, but we are always optimistic that, you know, we will have actually watertight agreement so that we can achieve that. And now my second question is actually to Yuji Ando, because country representative Jetro Bangladesh and Japan has been showing so much interest, and we have seen in the presentation of Mashur that, you know, there is a beautiful, I think, assessment satisfaction survey. Here there are some actually concerns about Bangladesh. So Japanese investors have taken a dedicated economic zone. How is that enhancing as FDI flow from Japan? We are looking forward to it.
Thank you very much, Rupali Apa. শুরুতে আমি একটু বাংলা বলতে চাচ্ছি প্রথমে ফিকিকে অনেক ধন্যবাদ জানাতে চাচ্ছি আমাকে এত সুন্দর জায়গায় আমন্ত্রণ করার জন্য এবং দ্বিতীয়তে ফিকিকে অভিনন্দন জানাতে চাচ্ছি আপনাদের 60 বছরের নেতৃত্ব এবং উদ্যোগের জন্য অবশ্যই আমরা আশা করব আপনাদের সাথে ভবিষ্যতেও একসাথে কাজ করতে পারবো অনেক ধন্যবাদ So thank you very much. My name is Anondo, Pradhan Praniti, country representative of Jetro. I'm really honored to be here as one of the panelists with a dedicated and wonderful panelists. So thank you very much for your nice questions. Actually, Dr. Masur presented very comprehensively. So actually, I have nothing to say besides that. But let me introduce about the economic zone in Alai Hajar. Actually, this economic zone is not dedicated for Japanese companies. This economic zone is open to all international investors. So currently, 8 companies, international companies, have already contracted with Bangladesh SEZ, and out of 8, 4 companies are from Japan. And we have, the first phase development for 200 acres in Alai Hazar, and 200 acres, have been already fully booked. So they are now expanding for another 100 hectares. So actually, they have a really good, situations for, promoting the foreign investors. And, out of the 4 companies, some of the Japanese companies are trying to focus on huge domestic market in Bangladesh. And as Saiful-san mentioned, we can approach to northeast state of India. So many of them are, trying to approach not only for Bangladesh domestic market, but also to northeast state of India. So this is, their strategy for, the investing here. And another, the factor is Japanese companies are always trying to diversify their supply chain from China, from ASEAN to South Asia. And Bangladesh is definitely as a, one of the good investment areas as a, supply chain diversifications. So some of the Japanese companies is trying to, do the export-oriented industries in this economic zone. And another factor is Bangladesh SEZ is trying to facilitate the one-stop service center as BIDA is doing. So next week, BEZA is going to inaugurate the first regional OSSC in Bangladesh SEZ. So I hope this will help the investors, to operate in the zones in very, very good manner. And as Dr. Masur mentions, custom procedures is one of the biggest headache for Japanese companies. Not only Japanese companies, but all the investors. We are suffering from the delay of the custom procedures and the lack of transparency in custom procedures. Lack of predictability in custom procedures. But good news is that in this economic zone, custom function will be there. So the investors in Bangladesh SEZ can enjoy good services in custom regional offices inside economic zone. So I hope their custom function in the zone will help the investors to clear the custom procedures in very, very quick manner. So these are the what we are expecting in this economic zone. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your, I think, realistic answer that the custom procedure actually is not only Japanese companies, but all the companies are actually suffering from this problem. So I have some concluding suggestions. So there I'm going to mention that. Thank you. And now I'm going to go to Samsu Kim, Trade Representative Director General, Dhaka Korea Trade Center. Korea contributes the 4th largest share of FDI, almost $1.5 billion as of December 2022. What has made Bangladesh an attractive destination, and what support do Korean business need to accelerate this relationship?
Thank you for good questions. Back in headquarters of KOTRA, I was in charge of foreign direct investment for 2 years. So today I'm so glad to share my experience and knowledge in Bangladesh. I think first of all, we need promote more to Korean companies because Bangladesh is far from Korea and there's few people speaking Koreans. So we need to promote more about some advantages of Bangladesh investment environment. Fortunately, Bangladesh has been steadily improving infrastructures such as logistics for the past decades. So I think there are many advantages in addition to just lower labor costs in the near future. So if the promotion goes well, I think many Korean companies can just pay attention to investing in Bangladesh. Also, it is needed to support the current investment companies well. In KOTRA, we, as a national FDI organization, like Bangladesh BIDA, one of the ways we promote FDI is to listen carefully to the difficulties of foreign investment companies and try to solve them. there are many cases that where investors are satisfied after and decided to invest additionally through such activities, because to foreign investment companies in Bangladesh, they have some communication channel to their headquarters. If they are very satisfied and they have experience to be solved from difficulties, and the headquarter can decide some more investment. Finally, more than half of Korean companies have invested in Bangladesh about 30 or 40 years ago. So there could be many additional investments from existing investment foreign companies, and not many new investment. So I think this tells us that we need to think about additional incentives for investment by other Korean companies.
Okay, because one of the oldest Korean company is Yangwon. So they actually pioneered in bringing in ready-made garments in Bangladesh. So yesterday we heard from Kyaksang, and BIDA is actually extending all kinds of online operations, and we have to see that the online operations are online operations, not individual operations for the individual ministry are parallelly run. So what happens is actually OSS are available at the same time, the parallel the application process and approval process is also running. So that creates confusion, we understand that. So we have actually our principal secretary is with us, so we are going to hear from him, and he is also hearing you. So now actually, Mashur, although you have given a very, very elaborate presentation, but we'd like to hear one thing from you that, where do you see the opportunities to enhance partnership for policy making regarding public and private sector?
Thank you, Rupali Appa. I took 9 minutes additional from your allocated time during presentation, so I'll be very brief. So instead of talking about specific sort of investment areas, because that's too many, let me sort of highlight on 3 enabling areas where public and private sector can partner together and sort of do wonders. Policy formulation for investment, promotion of investment, and investment itself. Now let me unpack that a little bit. The policy formulation is a government's prerogative. But when we are formulating policies for private sector, particularly for investment, whether it's a developed high-income country like Japan, or a developing country like Bangladesh, or even a low-income country, I think the government and the economy benefits hugely when the formulation goes hand in hand together with the private sector, the relevant private sector, in feeding, in informing the policy formulation. Something we are seeing as an exception, almost as an exception, in the logistics case. We have seen, again, I'm involved thanks to Honorable Principal Secretary, and I can see it firsthand. Not only Bangladeshi logistics sort of operators or players, but global operators or players like DP World, PSA, Maersk, CMS CGM, they're all being invited, Nippon Express, to various meetings and forums of the committee and the subcommittees to help inform the policy. So when you are dealing with something like logistics, which is highly globally integrated and evolving on a very fast basis, there is nobody better to help guide the process than the private sector. So together, public and private sector in the formulation. Obviously, the prerogative and the final sort of authority remains with the public sector. Second, promotion. BIDA is working very hard on investment promotion as a nodal agency, but then we also have BEZA, High-Tech Park Authority, who are also promoting. But again, who better than the various foreign investors who we already have, and promoters such as Andosan and our friend Shamsu, who know where to reach out. Japan has Anderson, I saw a JETRO or a Japanese report 4 years ago during COVID, that there were 45,000 Japanese enterprises in China. Now, if we are to reach out there and understand who wants to expand beyond China and perhaps come to Bangladesh, who better than JETRO or Mitsui or Sumitomo or Mitsubishi for us to understand who to sort of approach and what do they exactly sort of require. So this public-private cooperation and Standard Chartered, I know, have been doing it very diligently. Right after Honorable Prime Minister's visit, I remember Standard Chartered organized within a month a visit of Standard Chartered CEO from Japan and organized several meetings involving Japanese businesses and Bangladeshi businesses. So in such case, JETRO or Standard Chartered perhaps remains in a very strong position to help BIDA and government to reach out. So public-private partnership in promotion. Finally, partnership in investment, and that's where I had that as a box in the last slide, PPP. We would need more public-private investment if we are to reach the investment targets, the connectivity targets, the health and education targets by 2041. 3 areas I would say is very prime for public-private partnership and actually requires it. One is certainly infrastructure, including logistics. So we need to see more like Bay Container Terminal planned by the government, which is going to be developed and operated by world-class private port operators or developers. We need to see more of those in infrastructure because infrastructure investment between now and 2041 overall requirement is more than $550 billion. It will be difficult alone for government alone to mobilize that. Second area, it's a non-traditional area, health and education, particularly skills delivery. Those of us who have spent time in the UK, we know the world famous NHS, the National Health Service, runs entirely on PPP. The hospitals, the machines, perhaps many of the human resources, they all come under public-private partnership. Third area is services. A lot of government services around the world are now going under PPP under the name of managed service model. So something I think BIDA is lightly trying under the OSS where a private operator maintains certain functions. It is a great start. I think we need to take this model and apply in various government services where government owns and regulates the services. The service delivery under agreed standard operating procedure happens through private sector. So these are the 3 areas I would say the partnership is very important.
I think, yeah, this is very important because we need to build the infrastructure on the right time and also the quality. And also when we see that, third terminal, we see that how fast actually it has developed and we see the quality of the third terminal also. So we have seen, and also in terms of port, connectivity also government is thinking PPP and also employ international developers, so infrastructure developers. There we had actually reservation, now actually we are open and that's a very good improvement I must say. Before I have to go for second round of question, so I will come back to Saiful Bhai again. MCCI represents, I short just 2 minutes time. MCCI represents major local conglomerates and diverse business interests. How do local and foreign partnerships support greater FDI and improved investment climate? I can tell you, vouch, that we have formed 2 joint ventures, Berger Paints, and also we have also a technological tie-up with Japanese company. So that is possible, but how actually MCCI, being the MCCI, can actually enforce more such kind of partnership?
Okay. First of all, I did not thank FICCI and congratulate them for their 60 years of anniversary. Thanks for having me here, especially to the president and the board members. That is a very important thing that MCCI can play, that is as a catalyst. How we can do this thing? Because FDI, we always think about the how much foreign currency the country has got. But in fact, FDI is not only the foreign currency, it is the transfer of know-how, at the same time branding the country. that is happening. So from my personal experience, what I have seen, that I work for 3 joint venture companies, and we have that. The success came because, first of all, the German investor who had been working with us for the last 27 years, they were not so keen to come to Bangladesh, but it was from the local counterpart. So having a local counterpart, it is always an advantage. The advantage is that every country has got their unique law and unique system. Sometimes FDI, if it is 100%, which the country, we do not have any restriction for 100% investment, but it is, if it is on a JV basis, you know, the transfer of know-how and other thing, and the trust between the people-to-people connectivity, it increases. So from our Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we are acting as a catalyst for bridging. At the same time, we are thinking about something like export diversification and the product diversification, such as we have a project running out now, which is for semiconductor and microchips, because we have seen the shortage of the semiconductor and microchips during the pandemic. So for the last 1.5 years, we have been working on that, and we will be publishing the paper and we'll submit it to the government. So this is the way that the trade body, especially the chamber I work for, we have a role to play, and still we will emphasize that instead of having 100% investment, if it can be on a share basis, it gives a better result. Thank you.
Now I would like to come to Tapan Kanti Ghosh, Senior Secretary, Ministry of Commerce. Commerce Ministry has private sector enablers like Export Promotion Bureau. To reach our 2041 ambition, how can you support foreign investors?
Thank you very much. You have mentioned only Export Promotion Bureau. I think that is only one part of our Ministry of Commerce. We have a lot of other institutions under the Ministry of Commerce, which actually on a daily basis facilitates not only the foreign investment, the local investment also, like the Registered Joint Stock Company office. It's a very important office. We know that company is the foundation of any market-based economy, and and we have already registered almost 300,000 companies so far. And RJS is the #1, I think, office who has had automation in this country. Yes. Started in 2000.
Very impressive.
Very impressive, but even that software that is being used, that is not that user-friendly. So last 2 years, in collaboration with USAID, we have developed software which would be much more, user-friendly, and also it will give some more, conformity on the part of the entrepreneurs, that once they submit the documents, they don't have to go to the office, and once it is submitted, they will get some yes or no, result. But now it happens that you submit the documents, then you have to sometimes have a lot of queries, then you have to go in person, and it becomes, lengthy, and a lot of hassles are there. So we are planning to launch that new software by December. So if it is done, then it would much, facilitate the starting of a business. It's a part of the starting of a business. Another is the Chief Controller Import and Export Office. That is also very important in terms of export and import. If you invest in the country, or if you want to export, you must import products. And so the Chief Controller Office is very important. And we have integrated this office to the online OSS of the BIDA. And also in 2019, we introduced an online system that is called OLM, Online Licensing Module. So now one can have these certificates, not only IRC, ERC, we are providing actually 54 services. Most of them, of course, the import certificate and export certificate, but there are a lot other certificates, and we are giving it online. Anybody can have access from anywhere in the world. But still, those who are getting the services, sometimes they prefer to go to office and they prefer to ask the officials that you please do it for us and lots of things. So I think it is the matter of time also and the preparedness on the part of the beneficiary that the office can provide 100% service. And then comes the Export Promotion Bureau. Export Promotion Bureau, the main function is that in many countries, we get preferential market access. And to get preferential market access, you need a Rules of Origin certificate or certificate of origin. And that is being issued by the Export Promotion Bureau. And I think I have the figure of 2-3 years back. Then EPB used to issue per year more than 500,000 certificates. You see how tremendous was the work. Then our exports are destined to mainly in the European Union, and UK was included. That was 57% of the total exports. And that amount of certificates that was destined to European and UK is now being issued by the individual entrepreneurs. The system is called Registered Exporter System, REX. So, but I think nothing talks about this transformation in the EPB. It's a huge transformation, and I think the exporters, because throughout the year, the EPB has to issue 700,000. This year, I think it would have 700,000 certificates. Now it is being issued by the entrepreneurs. So we have transformed this office, and it has facilitated to a great extent, the exportation and to have the preferential access. So we are also now in collaboration with other institutions like NBR, like BIDA, BEJA, to have the integration. We have already introduced the integrated system with the BIDA and raised a joint stock company, BIDA, and Chief Controller Export-Import Office, BIDA and RJSC. So with this integration, what will happen? You are just asking that getting a service on the part of an entrepreneur or exporter. I think that would be much facilitated because they have the option. They can go to the original office like Chief Controller Office, go meaning not in person but have the access in their software. And also they can get those services from the online service, OSS from BIDA. But there is option. So I think it is not feasible also, particularly at this point, to stop all other service for all the offices and to get those services in the BIDA. So there is option. I think you can go through OSS or you can get it from RJC or OLM. So these all are. And also we are, trying to update all the policies continuously, like the export policy, the import policy. Those are also very important documents. The Import and Export Act we are going to formulate, the Company Act, the Trade Organizations Act that we have passed last year in 2022. And in so many policies, the Ministry of Commerce is involved, and we are trying to, update all the policies, including the IPR that has been mentioned by Dr. Masuriaz. All the IPR laws, the Patent Act, the Trademark Act, the Copyright Act has been, the Trademark Act, we are going to send it from the Ministry of Industry, of course, but we are going to amend it more. But the Patent Act, the Copyright Act always been passed. And I think it is now as per the, or it is now the compliant to the WTO IPR rules, that means TRIPS. So these are changes, and these all changes actually happened in last few years. And we are continuously trying to improve the business climate. I think when we say generally that the business climate is very bad in Bangladesh, I think it's a bit of sweeping generalization. We have compared it with like countries like Philippines or India. I don't know whether Bangladesh is lagging that behind compared to Philippines or India, because recently I visited the Philippines along with our Principal Secretary, and we have traveled in the village area also. I have seen the roads, and compared to Bangladesh, I don't see much difference. In city, Manila, maybe they have more flyovers, but even there is very traffic congestion. The customs of India all these, that is has been measured, I don't see that much difference. But of course, we have lot of things to improve. That is, there were some issue always mentioned by the entrepreneurs like customs, because there is also what we are doing. We are not following so far the trade facilitation tools that is being used in many countries, like the risk-based clearance. Because if you go for 10% checking, physical checking for the containers, then it makes life hell, because of less of manpower and all these issues. So when you can introduce the risk-based system, then you can do. We have seen in Yokohama and other ports that how they are doing. But for that, we need also a lot of preparation. We need to have a robust database of all the past behavior of all our exporters and importers in terms of documents. How did they, what products they introduce, how are their behavior in terms of paying duties, clearing the containers and moving the containers from the ports and all this stuff. When you can develop that database, then you can have this risk-based analysis. And also there are some other tools. I don't want to make it my speech very long, but I think the National Single Window project that is being implemented in the in the NBR by World Bank support, I think if they have a target to complete it by June 2025, if we can introduce and launch the National Single Window, I think that will solve many of the problems that we are talking about. And also the new Customs Act that has been passed last month, I have seen that in the new Customs Act, they have included a lot of the components of the trade facilitation agreement of the WTO, including the advance ruling, including the risk-based analysis and all other trade facilitation agreements. So I think it is now the time to get preparation in terms of automation, in terms of introducing National Single Window, in terms of following the trade facilitation tools that under the WTO, because as we are going to graduate into 2026, we need to be mindful, to follow the WTO rules. Otherwise, we will have some other problems. And the last I would like to say is that the main responsibility of the Ministry of Commerce is to, keep the sky of international trade open. That is the market access. And we are doing a lot of works in the market access. As an LDC, we have market access, duty-free market access in almost all the countries except United States of America. And as has been told by President MCCI Saiful Bhai, that in the European Union, in UK and some other countries, we will have the duty-free access up to 2029. In India and Japan, in some other countries, we will lose it 2026. For that matter, we are in negotiation with many countries, including Japan, India, then Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, to have free trade agreements, so that after 2026 or 2029, we can retain the market access, the duty-free market access for our entrepreneurs and for the foreign investors. But now the question is that to develop the product and to bring the foreign direct investment. I don't know, like I have a question to Mr. Yuji Ando, is that we have developed the Arahazar economic zone, and we expected that Japanese investors will come there. I think every Bangladeshi knows that it's a Japanese economic zone and Japanese investors will invest there. But now we hear that it is open and Japanese investors are not coming in that way that we expected. I don't know why. Everything has been prepared there. So is it only due to customs clearance that you mentioned? I don't know. But what I would like to mention is that we are continuously improving the business climate. We are giving all sort of hospitality, all sort of cooperation we are extending to our foreign friends, but they are not coming in that way. Mentioning some problems and all this. I think first they should come here. Those who have come, the big, FDI, and have their business here, they have been able to profit, in a magnificent way compared to other countries. So why not? Please come here. then tell us what is your problem, and then we will solve it. But otherwise, if you say that only, this is ranking and all this, Bangladesh is laying very far from any comparable country, I think it's like naming and shaming, and it doesn't make a very good, I think, sense of, improving. We, of course, would like to improve. We have improved a lot. That also need to be recognized. At the same time, we need to, hear that what else we need to introduce, and that we have seen in our presentation, of course, lot of issues Dr. Masroor Riaz has mentioned. We also know that, but it is the implementation. If you go for policy, we have a lot of very good policies. You go through the perspective plan of Bangladesh, you go through the 8th five-year plan, you go through the, the very good document prepared by Planning Commission on the facing of challenges after the LDC graduation. We have a lot of good policies. But when you want to implement it, actually, there is a lot of conflicting objectives, and particularly the external issues, particularly last 3-4 years, that it becomes very difficult to implement those policies or those recommendations as we have expected. So I would like to say that please, the FDI, entrepreneurs or foreign investors from outside, please bear with us, please come to Bangladesh, and you invest here, you feel the problem and you say, and we will go for rapid, correction of the policies. So with this, I would like to, stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. First of all, I understand your frustration because economic zones are being developed, and we need actually foreign direct investment, and we also need actually existing investors, local investors in Bangladesh to invest in the economic zones so that we see that we create employment. And the way our company, we have taken a place in Bangabandhu, and we are actually almost, we'll be spending almost 1,000 crore, and we will be actually employing people, and it is going to be also automatic in plant. So we also actually tell our counterpart, like, we have a Japanese counterpart called Chogoku Marine Paints, and they're also looking, and we are also talking to different investors, and they are looking at, and we are hopeful. But at the same time, I must say that there is a policy inconsistency. So I have actually noted down so that I don't forget about, because we all talked about the, that we have these strengths. Of course, we have this strength. That is why we are here today. And now we are talking about 2041. So our weaknesses, if I really talk about Beza, that when we bought the land, there was no question of 15% VAT. So suppose someone has invested 1,000 crore. So 15% VAT means in another, 150 crore. So like that, it is actually, suddenly the policies are changed. And then suddenly, and if I really, produce something outside Beza, I have to pay utility charges equivalent to the national rate. But if I really do invest in Beza, then I have to pay extra surcharge. So my PUC will be higher in Beza rather than reducing. What benefit people are getting is actually they are getting, when they are bringing in the capital and machinery, there is a benefit. When they are actually, employment will be created, there will be ready-made infrastructure in terms of roads and safety, everything is there. But when the PUC goes up, then a lot of people will definitely take out their investment from there, because a lot of industry like textile, they need a lot of water. So these are some inconsistencies are there. We need to actually fix those because we have to really acknowledge that there are problems, So, and existing operators are going to talk about it. So I think that's what they're saying, that we are, if we frank and free, we discuss and we solve the problem, we can move ahead. And on that note, I would like to say frequent changes of the national fiscal policy. So, and also we see that lack of coordination, communication among different regulatory bodies controlling the private sector. So support, we have actually, we are talking about FDI. Then we are also talking about actually increasing the revenue. I do not really blame NBR because they are given a target top down. So they have to really, in any case, they have to get that revenue earned. And what they do, actually, they find out very innovative ways of taxing the existing taxpayer. So what happens? The cost of doing business goes up. So these things are, this information does not remain secret within the boundary. So people talk about it. So these are the, I think, inconsistencies we are talking about. And I think doing business, already it has been spoken about, and I'm not really, I don't want to repeat. We have actually, electricity, sufficient electricity. We have, but when it is a question of actually getting a connection, can you believe that, your transformers and everything, it takes longest period of time, still. So this is actually not known to a lot of people. So when we are actually individually doing work, we face this kind of problem. So I think the private sector, public sector, and dialogue has to go on, and we have to trust each other. We are not saying that all business people are, we are 100% transparent, we are 100% compliant. No, we are not. So in that case, we cannot also say that all the processes that government actually has developed for ease of doing businesses, those are also not transparent. So there is a discretionary power given to the different bureaucratic process. So we have to cut down those, and people will talk about it. So I'm saying that, it's a humble submission. It's not a criticism. It's actually, we have to really, really say that we have problems. We have to solve those problems. Unless we solve those problems, actually people will talk about it, and they have actually, they have their own way of knowing things. And then actually, another one actually issue that opportunities, of course, huge. We have huge market, huge population, and that middle income, affluent class, 34 million, which is very, very hopeful. We are very hopeful that is going to come. And actually, $1 trillion economy in 2041. That itself is a big statement. We are hopeful, but we think that, and we have untapped, different kind of segment, and which actually Masroor talked about. We are going to, we ourselves, FICCI members, we definitely play a vital role talking to the different investors and different forum, and actually involve us whenever there is an investment summit. We are the brand ambassador. We can go and actually say that, yes, we have come, and our company got listed in 2005. Seeing us, all the international paint companies are here in Bangladesh. So, but we are still thriving. They are also doing good business. So we are not actually against any foreign direct investment. Rather, we are actually spokesmen for the foreign direct investment. So I actually say that, basically, the contradictory that, policies like, in our discussion, is today's discussion, we have to actually get a Ministry of Finance with us, because they actually decide the next year what's going to be the NBR policy. I really don't know. I mean, then I have investment, and then I really don't have the investment and actually assurance that it's going to go. So I think my recommendation is that there has to be a high power, committee headed by, our Prime Minister's office, and BESA and BIDA is working under the Prime Minister's office. So if you really have regular meetings, you can actually, play a umpire's role, and which one to get the, best priority. It is the investment or revenue earning or employment generation. With this note, I would like to thank all my panelists, because I have lot more questions, and Nasir is showing, because we have our chief guest, and honorable chief guest has heard us, and he is going to actually take a stock of whatever we have discussed, and he is going to actually give us a total summary of what he is going to do. We have really, really, confidence in you. I think Mr. Nurul Kabir is going to announce that. Thank you very much for patient hearing.
wonderful session, and what a great moderation by the Rupali Chaudhary. One more round of applause. And this session really insightful. I believe everyone sitting here echo with me. Now, ladies and gentlemen and the guests and dignitaries, I now request our chief guest of this session, the Investment Climate, Current Landscape and Mission 2041, the Honorable Principal Secretary to the Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Tofazzal Hossain Mia. Sir, I would like to request you deliver your speech as a chief guest.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to congratulate FICCI for its 60 years celebration and Investment Expo 2023. And thanks for inviting me to this August program. And I thank all the panelists, dear participants. A very good afternoon to you all. Yes, many issues have been raised in such a small period of time. In fact, I feel that the government's role is to, in terms of when we talk about the foreign investment, my role is to facilitate the flow of capital, facilitate the flow of talents, facilitate the flow of knowledge. So whenever we are talking about the foreign investment, certainly what the government wants, naturally our full-length endeavor is to develop our economy, develop the standard, life standard of our people. And so what should we do? The governments, what Mr. Masroor Riaz, thanks to Masroor Riaz, he has pinpointed, he has really, he did not make any sweeping generalizations, I have noticed. He has criticized government, but with enough documents, with substantiated his ideas. And he has also recommended that what the government has done and what the government could do. You know, we are a very, very, very transforming society as Bangladesh now. I feel, and I say to all my colleagues, that the biggest transformation is taking place in last 2 decades, which the Bangladeshis could never think of. So every day we are changing, and the domestic issues, the domestic investment, the foreign investment, the export-import, the capital, you know, the other issues, the copyright, and all these are coming up regularly, and Bangladesh is graduating, you know. So given that situation, the government is very, very, I would say, trying to make all the conducive environments to facilitate all the supports required for the investors. What I can say that, you know, whenever we are becoming graduated, what the government did, we formed 6 committees. So how we will cope up with the next challenges that would erupt after 2026. So how our domestic market will behave, how our product diversification, our country diversification would take place, how should be our fiscal policy. That's why many committees are working, and in the last budget, many suggestions have been taken by that committee, and certainly I can take pride that what are we doing? We are working on the very idea that every the issues are being addressed. So we try to make our documents very living. Mr. Masudi has mentioned about the logistics policy. Yes, we could not do it in last 52 years, but we are now doing it with a firm conviction, with a serious note of private sectors on board. So what I can say that not only in the case of logistics policy, in many areas we are now discussing. We are very open to you all. Even when you were talking about the PPP. So you know some of the PPP projects are visible. We are getting the very big benefits from the PPP projects like the elevated expressway or some other ports and terminals, and certainly new PPP projects are coming up in the areas of port, terminal, energy, and power. So many things are being cooked. So you know there are the process of clearing all these things. We are taking time, but I am sure we are going to a right direction of having the private sector much more engaged in the government policy formulation, decision making, even the promotion, what you have mentioned. So, you know, yes, there are many areas which we need to work. We need more in fact, we don't have investment in the blue economy. We should seriously work on it. I would request the foreign investors so that you come up with proposals that how and in which way you want to invest. So as a secular sector, including, I'll say, suppose aquaculture or the deep sea, we are not doing anything. The private sector should come out in the offshore energy exploration. You know, marine tourism is a big issue also. So there are many areas which we could not, which we can take into serious consideration. And you know, Bangladesh is one of the fastest growing economy. Currently we are the 35th largest economy in the world. And I hope that by 2037 it will be 20th largest economy. So my idea, my experience in dealing with the business people for long, I have found that those who could invest here, they have made money. So whenever you say there are, yes, we admit there may be many limitations from both ends. I have found, so we are critical. Suppose there may be, we are at times bogged down at the process level. But whenever things come to our knowledge, we make serious intervention so that our business, our investment is not hampered, and we take serious consideration. If you have noticed during the COVID time, we are also on tour so that to support you all. But I have also noticed that in some cases where, you know, we all think of a very, very ideal situation. But we have to be, all people should be ideal. If it doesn't happen, something happens that is very unwanted in the case of business. Even I have found, we have given lands to investors. They are very big investors. They are not investing. When I have found, why are you not investing? The other colleagues are investing, but this guy is not investing. He has taken lease of 200, 300 or 100 acres of land. So he is waiting that the market rate is now 3 taka or 3 cents per square feet. When it will be 8 cents, he will lease it to some other person. This is my experience also. So there are many issues I can raise, but I hope that, yes, in 2006, our GDP was US $60 billion, so which has now almost 8%, eightfold increased, which is 470 billion or more. So I hope that your versatile engagement, your inclusive ideas that will really make our business environment much more conducive. And I hope that government is always, and I can declare with a full bloom heart that government is seriously in favor of trade and investment. Government is very much welcoming to the foreign investment. Yes, now we see that much more reinvestment is happening. We want green investment also. And I think that only for the development of the economy, it is not only for the benefit of the generation we are here. Our children are coming up. Our grandchildren will be coming up. So for them, we are taking long-term projects. You see the Padma Breeze that has transformed the lives of 21 districts of Bangladesh, accumulating 60 million people. If you talk about the third terminal, we are now in a serious discussion with the Japanese companies. So they are having very good breakthrough with the PPP authorities. So in terms of, I would say, the Rupur power plant, if you go to Matarbari, you will see what changes have taken place. If you go to Paira, you'll see. So your colleagues are investing there, and they're really hopeful that these investment will be returned in many folds for a long time. So I would thank FICCI for organizing such a wonderful programs for 2 days, I think. Yesterday, and Honorable Prime Minister was here. She is also very much keen on supporting the private sectors, and you know, in fact, during her tenure, the private sector is made open. It is only the Prime Minister's firm conviction that even the Labor Act, we have changed 3 times in a very recent time. So we have the National Plan of Action. So we are regularly engaged with the multinational and bilateral organizations. So I'm thankful to FICCI, all the investors, all the private sector people here, that you people can change Bangladesh, certainly under the prudent political leadership. And we are happy that Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is at the helm of doing all these affairs. So I hope that this journey of success, this journey of development will continue. Thank you all, and Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu.
Thank you very much, sir. Your leadership and support to the private sector always very much instrumental. We are proud of you to lead this policy side and helping the private sector for growth of economy in the country. Now, moderator will facilitate few questions, and if you have any question, we can take, because of time, not much more questions. Maybe moderator will facilitate that. Over to Rupali Chaudhary.
I think we will take only a few questions. If you have any questions, if you don't have any questions, it's also okay. We can conclude the session. Okay. Please give a mic. Please. Could I get a mic?
Yes, I am Tanvir Mohammad Dipu, member FBCCI. My perception, it is the time to decide, will Bangladesh be an import-based country or export-based country? Second, we are dreaming to 2041. Our export basket, maximum one item, 87% RMG. This item can fulfill our dream, other export varieties. Thank you.
So, Mashur, you want to take that question or Commerce Secretary? Thank you.
Okay, the first question is that will Bangladesh be an export-led country or import-led country? I think there is no dichotomy between export-led and import-led. If you see the example of South Korea, you see the export and import is almost equal because if you want to be a big exporter country, then you have to be an importer country also. Because you have to import a lot of ingredients, raw materials, machinery, everything, and you process products and services, and then you export. It is also equally true for China or any exporter, growing emerging country. And it is not always, having big import is not always bad. Like Rupali Chaudhary mentioned that import from India. But we have to see that what products we are importing. From India, as for example, we are importing the cotton, mainly cotton, fabrics, and food items, essential food items, which is very necessary for our consumers and for our economy because we are importing cotton and then fabric, and then we are producing garments and we are exporting to the European Union and USA. So from China is the same. We are importing also fabric and textile, other products, and also the machinery. And we are processing our products and we are exporting. So there is no dichotomy. And I think it is the scene that for Bangladesh, we import mainly from our neighboring countries, Asian countries, and we export to European countries, to USA. So with regard to USA and EU, we have huge surplus because they export very little to Bangladesh. So I think it is, as a whole, it's equilibrium. So we have to see things in that way because why people import from a country? It is for him less price, best quality, he considers is to import from that country. That's why they go for that country. Because business is no favor, they don't favor any country for other reason. It is the economic reason, economic rationality. The second one is the product concentration of Bangladesh export. It's a much talked about issue in Bangladesh. Actually, last 30 years, as we more and more talk about diversification of products, we are making it more and more concentration. Because few years, I think 7, 8 years or 10 years back, the percentage of RMG industry export in the total export was around 80%. Now it is 85%. So we are going more and more away from that is true. But that sector is doing really good. That's why we are capturing the market maybe. We need to, but in absolute terms, I think proportion is okay, but in absolute terms, if we go for, then the other export is also increasing. In percentage terms, maybe the RMG is doing much, competitively with other, vis-a-vis other commodities, but other products are coming. Last year, we have almost $10 billion from other sectors and 46 billion from RMG sector. But we need to, of course, bring all other potential sectors like our pharmaceuticals, our leather sector, our consumer, electronics, electronic goods. Then why not the semiconductor, was Saiful Bhai was saying, it might also add in our export industry a few years from now. We need to have that sort of ambition, and for that we need also the FDI. Because for that sort of high quality, high technology based production, we need technology, we need the market connectivity, and also the capital. That's why we are talking here. And the subcommittees that mentioned by our Honorable Principal Secretary that are working to cope with the graduation challenges, we have committees that how to, diversify our products, how to bring more products as competitive in the global market. But there needs a lot of reforms. And we are also, talking about those reforms, but it's difficult because we are passing also difficult times in the global arena. But we have a lot of positive things also. If we compare one figure, I would like to mention here, that in 2011, the import of European Union on garments, they imported 43% from China. And from Bangladesh, it was 10%. Now, EU importing RMG products, 22% of total RMG products, 22% is from Bangladesh, and from China it is 29%. So we are catching up Maybe next 3-5 years we will even surpass China. So these all are actually very promising and encouraging figures. I think we also need to mention this, discuss this also, with all the limitations and possible, problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll take only 2 other questions. Any questions? Okay. Please give him the microphone.
Assalamu alaikum. এখন আমরা এলসি ওপেন করতে
Can you
পারছি না।
introduce yourself, please?
Okay, my name is Syed Nasir. I am a small enterprise. And আমার প্রশ্নটি হচ্ছে বর্তমানে আমরা এলসি ওপেন করতে পারতেছি না। এক, আমাদের সাপ্লায়াররা ইভেন 4 মাসও পেমেন্ট পাচ্ছে না। এমত অবস্থায় ইনভেস্টমেন্ট ক্লাইমেট নিয়ে আলোচনা কতটুকু সুন্দর বা কতটুকু যৌক্তিক, এটি হচ্ছে প্রথম প্রশ্ন। আর দ্বিতীয় প্রশ্নটি হচ্ছে দুইজন সিনিয়র সচিব মহোদয় এখানে আছেন, তো অত্যন্ত আনন্দের বিষয়, কিন্তু এনবিআর এর চেয়ারম্যানটা এই ধরনের চেয়ারম্যান সাহেব যদি এই ধরনের অনুষ্ঠানে থাকতো তাহলে
আপনি স্পেসিফিক প্রশ্ন করেন, কোনো সমালোচনা বা
না, সমালোচনা না, এনবিআর এর চেয়ারম্যান স্যার যদি থাকতেন তাহলে আমাদের এটা অনুষ্ঠান ইফেক্টিভ হতো। কারণ এই জ্যাট্রোর যে রিপোর্ট 71% জাপানিজ বিনিয়োগকারী এখানে কষ্টে পাচ্ছে, আনহ্যাপি অবস্থায় আছে অ্যাজ পার জ্যাট্রো রিপোর্ট।
No,
That's not
আপনি তো রিমার্ক করছেন, আমি
Okay.
I am not remarking. My question is that অর্থাৎ অনেকগুলা ইস্যু আছে যেগুলো ম্যাক্সিমাম ইস্যু হচ্ছে এনবিআর রিলেটেড ইস্যু, তো ওই জায়গাটাতে যদি আমরা একটু রিলিফ বা ইজি করতে পারতাম তাহলে আমরা মনে করতে পারতাম যে এই সমস্ত প্রোগ্রামগুলো এবং ফিকির মতো অনুষ্ঠান, ফিকির একটা ইমেজ আছে যেটা আমাদের ডিসিসিআই বলেন অন্যখানে এনবিআর এর কাছে বা গভর্নমেন্ট অফিসের কাছে যে ভাবমূর্তিটা আছে, ফিকির ভাবমূর্তি হচ্ছে অনেক ভালো। সুতরাং ফিকির অনুষ্ঠানগুলোতে যদি এ ধরনের কোয়েশ্চেনগুলো আমরা ওপেনলি বলতে পারতাম, যেটা ম্যাডাম বলছিল ফ্রিলি কথা বলা, ফেয়ারলি কথা বলা, তো এই প্ল্যাটফর্মটাকে ইউজ করে আমরা আমাদের সমস্যাগুলো আসলে জানাতে চাই। সাবসাইড করে চলে গেলাম, শুনে চলে গেলাম, আমাদের কিন্তু আমরা যারা বিনিয়োগকারী তাদের কিন্তু কোনো অসুবিধা হবে না।
So can I actually answer on his behalf? First of all,
না ঠিক আছে,
this-
না
this
থ্যাংক
is-
ইউ, না ওনাকে শোনা উচিত, উনি তো বলতেই পারবেন, ওনাকে বলতে দেওয়া উচিত। থ্যাংক ইউ। আমার প্রথম কথা হচ্ছে এনবিআর চেয়ারম্যান কেন নেই, ইউ শুড আস্ক ইট টু ফিকি। এক, দুই হচ্ছে আপনি যদি ফিকির মানে সদস্য বা সভ্য হয়ে থাকেন, আপনি হয়তো তাকে এনে আপনার বিষয়গুলো জানতে চাইতে পারেন। তবে আমি সাধারণভাবে বলি কি, ইয়েস, আমাদের এই গ্লোবাল অর্থনীতি কিন্তু নানা রকম চড়াই উতরাই পার হচ্ছে, এবং বাংলাদেশ ইজ এ পার্ট অফ দি গ্লোবাল ইকোনমি। আমরা উই কুড নট ফোরসি দি রাশিয়া ইউক্রেন ওয়ার। রাশিয়া ইউক্রেন ওয়ারের ফলে আমরা যে কমোডিটি, আমরা এসেনশিয়াল কমোডিটি যেটা আমরা বলি 6টা বা 8টা পণ্য আমরা যেগুলো আনতাম, সেই সমপরিমাণ আনতে আমাদের $10 বিলিয়ন বেশি প্রয়োজন হয়। আপনারা জানেন যে সারের দাম কি পরিমাণ হয়েছে। আমরা গভর্নমেন্ট থেকে ফুয়েলকে সাবসিডি করছি, গ্যাসকে সাবসিডি করছি, তো এইসব ক্ষেত্রে স্বাভাবিকভাবেই হয়তো সাময়িক সময়ের জন্য সারা পৃথিবীর অর্থনীতি কোনো না কোনো বিপর্যস্ত আছে, কিন্তু নানা রকম উদ্যোগও কিন্তু নেওয়া হচ্ছে, নানা রকম সিদ্ধান্ত নেওয়া হচ্ছে, বাস্তবায়ন হচ্ছে। কিন্তু আপনাকে সবসময় মনে রাখতে হবে আমাদের খালি 170 মিলিয়ন পিপল, এখানে আমরা কোনো কিছু একটা আপনি 10 মিলিয়ন বা 20 মিলিয়ন বা 50 মিলিয়ন লোকের দেশ আর 170 মিলিয়ন লোকের দেশের চাহিদা যেমনি বেশি, তার মানে সাপোর্টগুলোও কিন্তু অনেক বেশি প্রয়োজন হয়। তো আমরা স্বাভাবিকভাবে গভর্নমেন্টের একটি দায়িত্ব, গভর্নমেন্ট সেই জায়গাটায় কাজ করছে, এবং আমি মনে করি না, যেমন হয় কি আমরা কিন্তু অনেক সময় কথা বলি, আমরা গ্লোবাল কনটেক্সটটা মাথায় নেই। যেমন আপনারা কিছুদিন আগে দেখেছেন যে বলা হয়েছে যে আমাদের গার্মেন্টস রপ্তানি 22% কমে গেছে। তো এটি যে কেউ শুনলে আমরা একটু খারাপ লাগবে, আমরা এই দেশের মানুষ। তো পরে আমি খোঁজ নিলাম যে আচ্ছা গার্মেন্টস রপ্তানি যদি কমে থাকে, আচ্ছা গ্লোবাল ট্রেন্ডটা দেখি। তো আমি দেখলাম যে পৃথিবীর, আমি বললাম যে আমাকে পৃথিবীর 10টি মেজর গার্মেন্টস এক্সপোর্টিং কান্ট্রিজের এক্সপোর্টের হিসাবটা দাও। আমি যখন সেই 10টা কান্ট্রি দেখলাম, আমি দেখলাম 12% থেকে 29% হ্রাস হয়েছে প্রতিটা দেশের। কিন্তু আমি যখন কথাটা বললাম তখন এমনভাবে যেন বাংলাদেশেই শুধু হয়েছে, আর কারো হয়নি। বাংলাদেশের চেয়ে মানে অনেক হাই এন্ড গার্মেন্টস তৈরি করে তাদেরও দেখলাম 27%, 28% সেল হয়েছে, মানে কমে গেছে। তো এরকম নানা রকম বিষয় থাকবে, কিন্তু আমরা মনে করি আমরা এগুলো সমাধান করতে পারবো। এবং আমার মনে হয় প্রাইভেট সেক্টর থেকেও আপনার কথার রেসপন্স হওয়া উচিত, যেহেতু আপনি বলেছেন যে প্রাইভেট সেক্টরের প্রতিনিধি আপনি একজন, তো আমরা একটু আপনাকেও শুনতে পারি।
Thank you, Honorable Principal Secretary. I would like to answer his question that we are going through a turbulence, and this is a very exceptional situation, and that cannot be cited as an example. First of all, that we had the twin effect, the pandemic followed by the Ukraine war. And Ukraine war, you know that Bangladesh is a import-based country, especially we import almost 95% of our fuel and the commodities. It has gone high. But at the same time, the export, it has increased. But still there is a balance of payment not in favor of us. After that, we had this Middle East war, and we had some political turmoil. Because of that, yes, there is a scarcity of the foreign currency, but I must say that all the LCs, letter of credits, are being paid, but it takes time. Of course, we had, nobody says that we had the reserve of $48 billion about the 1.5 year back. But we had been asking for the infrastructure, now the infrastructure is there. The payment needs to be there. The import bill needs to be there. At the same time, the remittance, which we expected the way we had, because of the crisis of the pandemic and as well as the war and the Middle East crisis, the remittance also, it is not growing the way it is being expected. But once it is over, I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to overcome all these things.
আর আপনি বলেছেন যে এখন করাকে ঠিক হচ্ছে কিনা, বেটার লেট দেন নেভার। আমরা শুরু করেছি ডায়লগটা, দ্যাটস গুড, সো ডায়লগ চলতেই থাকবে।
আমি একটু অ্যাড করি,
আরেকটা প্রশ্ন।
আপা রূপালী আপা, আমি একটু সাইফুল ভাই আর অনারেবল প্রিন্সিপাল সেক্রেটারির সাথে অ্যাড করি। আপনি যে পার্টিকুলার ইস্যুটা বলেছেন, এই এলসি উইচ ইজ লিঙ্ক টু আওয়ার ব্যালেন্স অফ পেমেন্ট ফরেন কারেন্সি, দেখেন ওই আমি সাইফুল ভাইয়ের সাথে পুরোপুরি একমত। প্রবলেম আছে কিন্তু ইমপ্রুভমেন্ট হচ্ছে। কারেন্ট অ্যাকাউন্ট ডেফিসিট গত বছরের ফিসক্যাল ইয়ারের শেষে 22 জুনে $18 বিলিয়ন ছিল, এখন এটা $400 মিলিয়ন নেমে এসছে বিকজ অফ মেজার, মানে ডিফারেন্ট মেজার্স। মেজার্স পেইনফুল, কিন্তু একটা প্রবলেম সিচুয়েশনে তো পেইনফুল সিদ্ধান্ত নিতেই হয়। আমাদের এখন বাকিটা রয়ে গেছে ফাইন্যান্সিয়াল অ্যাকাউন্ট ব্যালেন্স অফ পেমেন্টে, ওই জায়গাটা যদি একটু ফ্লোটা বেড়ে যায়, আই এম প্রিটি কনফিডেন্ট হয়তো কিছুদিনের মধ্যে এই এলসিগুলো আরো সহজে খোলা যাবে। থ্যাংক ইউ।
লাস্ট প্রশ্ন, লাস্ট কোশ্চেন, এনিবডি? ওকে, okay, there is no last question, so we can conclude today's session with thanks to the chief guest. If you want to answer, no problem. Yes.
ভাইজান, আপনার প্রশ্নের জন্য আমি অল্প কিছু বলতে চাচ্ছি। আসলে এলসি ওপেনিং এর সমস্যা আসলে জাপানি কোম্পানির জন্য অবশ্যই আমরা মানে সমস্যায় পড়ে আছি, কিন্তু এটা শুধু বাংলাদেশ নয়, আসলে জাপানে অনেক সমস্যায় আছে। আসলে মানে রাশিয়া ইউক্রেন যুদ্ধের জন্য সব জিনিসের দাম বাড়ছে, এবং এনার্জি দাম, মানে ফুড দাম, এবং জাপান তো অবশ্যই ইয়েতে এনার্জি ইম্পোর্ট ডিপেন্ডেন্ট কান্ট্রি, এটা বাংলাদেশের মতো, এবং সব জিনিস দাম বেড়ে গেছে। কিন্তু আমাদের দেশে বাংলাদেশের মতো বেতন বাড়ে না, সেজন্য সবাই মানে অভিযোগ দিচ্ছে আমাদের মানে বর্তমানে মানে সরকারকে। কিন্তু আমি মনে করি অবশ্যই মানে পরের মানে বছরে অবশ্যই এই অবস্থা তো অবশ্যই ভালো হবে আশা করছি। এটা আমার পক্ষ থেকে বলতে চাচ্ছি। থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ।
থ্যাংক ইউ।
Only from Shimshu Kim, we want more investment Korea, okay? Korea is a very good friend, so we want more because you have shown us the way, and we think that you have everything possible, so you'll bring more money to Bangladesh.
Thank you very much, and such an engaged session and effectively very lively moderated by our former President Rupali Chaudhary and all the distinguished panel and the chief guest. Thank you. But now I would request our leader, the President of FICCI, Mr. Nasir Ezaz Bijoy to come to the dais to say vote of thanks.
Thank you, Gauri. I think the presence in this room actually tells you that it's a very important topic. So to address your question, this was absolutely a relevant discussion topic, but we know that we can't cover everything in 1.5 or 2 hours. Today's topic was more strategic in nature. We did talk about tax, but that is actually, we have done more than talking about it. We prepared a document, research document, which was published yesterday. It was launched by Honorable Prime Minister, so maybe you want to refer to that. But I think I really appreciate your question. I think the whole purpose of today's event is that, we know that the country has significant potential. And why am I saying this? Because if you think about the existing market size, it's already $500 billion market, almost. And if you just add your real GDP growth rate, which means that your nominal plus, if you add nominal plus your inflation, real growth rate plus inflation, your nominal growth is 12%, which means that at the current rate, it will actually be $1 trillion economy in 2031. So Bangladesh is already a large market. Now, within the drivers, the main drivers of the growth have been export, remittance, agriculture, and also about your domestic economy, infrastructure and all those. Each of these areas, there are opportunities for growth, right? And then the third point is that there are new sectors which are coming in. Our panelists have talked about it. So there is significant potential. So I think we need to divide the issues, one strategic, the other one is tactical. The point that you have mentioned about, the tax perspective, we have published a research book, so maybe it will be a good idea to refer to that. Secondly, timing is absolutely correct because, as you said, you have an apprehension. So it's important to talk about many things which are also strategic because we strongly believe the near-term challenges do not define the long-term opportunity for Bangladesh, potential for Bangladesh. So I strongly believe that this is the right thing to do, to talk about a more longer strategic discussion. And third point is about the, as I said, the other sectors are also available there. We have published a research book 2 years back, which shows that the agribusiness, sustainable finance, and digital economy are going to be 3 new sectors of growth, new drivers of growth for future. Agribusiness, just one point, I'm not going to take too much of time. Agribusiness, I'll give you an example. Overall, Bangladesh's agriculture contribution in GDP is 13%, which is $49 billion, roughly thereabout. Netherlands, with half the arable land, with probably 1/10 of the population, exports alone, only exports, at $132 billion. So there are significant opportunities for us to actually grow on those areas, right? Therefore, I think, we are continuously doing this, research documents so that, actually we can engage with a wider group and we can take it forward. To complement to Honorable Principal Secretary's point, what is the proof point for Bangladesh? I think it's important to recognize that it's not only about money. It has to be efficiency that investors need to bring on the table. The investors who are here with knowledge and ability to innovate and has the resilience have been successful in this market. Look at the telco sector, it's the Telenor. Look at insurance, it's MetLife. It's logistics, it's DHL, Marsline. Talk about banking, it's Standard Chartered, HSBC, FMCG, Unilever, food, Nestle. So I think if you can, and these are not 1 year, years after year. So if you can bring in efficiency, productivity, knowledge, innovation capability, this is a market which provides you very favorable risk-reward relationship. So I think we clearly know that the long-term potential of the country is absolutely there. There's a long runway ahead of us. And obviously there are areas that we need to work on. I don't think there's any doubt about it. In those areas, we are continuously engaging with all the stakeholders. And I'm very, very optimistic now more than ever before because we have got the right people on the helm. Starting from Honorable Prime Minister, who has actually set the tone, the PMO's office, Commerce Ministry, Central Bank, they're all trying to help. Obviously, there are a lot of headwinds. We need to manage those resources and optimize the resources. I'll tell you, in terms of approaches, I believe that at the senior level, intention, there's no dearth of intention. It's about execution challenges. I'll tell you two things. I'll share with you my experience with the Honorable Principal Secretary. In my first meeting as FICCI President with the Principal Secretary, I went to him with two difficult issues. The meeting started at 3 o'clock, ended at 4 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, he calls me. I didn't call him. He calls me to tell me that I've already spoken to this and this gentleman. The issue will be resolved next week. And it got resolved. It is not an institutional way, but I think the intention perspective is very, very clear. When we are having this event for this FICCI 60 years event, our strategic partner, be it Mr. Executive Chairman, Mr. Lokman Mia, wherever we got stuck, he was the one who actually picked up the phone and facilitated the process. As a Standard Chartered Bank, we imported cash notes. It is not common for Bangladesh to cash dollar importation. We reached out to our Senior Secretary of Commerce. He got this approved soon. So I am very, very optimistic. Maybe it's not happening across the board, and that is what we need to work on. I don't think there's an issue of intention at the top. It's about the execution. And I think all of us play a role. If all the business community also supports, remain compliant, I think it makes easier for others to set things going. So I think it's all of our responsibility to get it done. So I'm hugely optimistic about the leadership of the country. I'm hugely optimistic about the country's potential. I'm hugely optimistic about the ability of our people in Bangladesh. So I think it's a market where it's not about if, it's about when we see the investment coming in. I think if you all collaborate, we can definitely get the investment done. So I think I must thank Mr. Dr. Masroor Riaz for a very, 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 very detailed keynote presentation. He's always like this. He's already published 2 documents for us, and very, very rich panel here. And not to mention our passionate leader, Mr. Rupali Chaudhary. She was my predecessor in FICCI and currently advisor. She obviously ran it with a lot of passion. And all of you for being here today it actually ran over because that shows the enthusiasm amongst all of you in addressing this subject. So at this point of time, it's time for us to actually, thank everyone and hand over some token of appreciation for all the panel members and chief guests. Thank you.
Thank you, President. Yes, this is the time to recognize some token to all the panelists and chief guests. Is the occasion of our 60th year celebration and this point. First of all, I request our President to hand over a crest to our chief guest, Mr. Muhammad Tofazzal Hossain Mia, Principal Secretary to the Honorable Prime Minister. So my colleague Nadia is actually volunteer for bringing the crest. Thank you, Nadia. Now I would request our Senior Vice President Dipal Abhibikrama to hand over a crest to the Senior Secretary, Ministry of Commerce. Again, I thank you, my colleague Shubarna Mustafa, to bring the crest. Next, I would request Executive Chairman of BIDA to come to the stage. Sir, you like to hand over the crest to our distinguished moderator. Now I would like to request Mr. Javed Akhtar, Director FICCI and Chairman Managing Director Unilever Bangladesh, to hand over the crest to the keynote speaker. I would like to request BIDA Chairman again to present the crest to the President MCCI. Javed bhai, you can remain, stay there. Please hand over the crest to the President MCCI, Mr. Saiful Islam. You know, as President mentioned, we have a two strategic partner. One is BIDA, another Ministry of Commerce. So I would like to request Senior Secretary, Ministry of Commerce, to hand over the crest to the country representative of JETRO, Yuzi Ando. He made everybody excited talking in Bangla. Now I'm requesting our another director, Mohammad Miarul Haq, and the country head of the DHL Bangladesh to hand over the crest to the Samsoki Trade Representative and Director General of Kotra. So you all can stand for a photo session. That would be a great occasion.